Today we're going to create two cards with two totally different looks, like night and day. Hi, this is Anna of Crafty Anna Studio. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I post paper crafting and card making tutorials. I'll be using Here For You stamp and die set for this project. I'll be heat embossing the three main floral elements in this stamp set on vellum. First, I prep the vellum with anti-static powder. Next, I will take the three main floral elements and lay them out onto the vellum. Since I'll be creating two cards, I will heat emboss another set off camera. After laying down all the elements, I'll close the door of my MISTI to pick up the stamp. Then I'll ink up the stamp with embossing ink. Close the door of my MISTI onto the vellum, give it a good press, then sprinkle it generously with white embossing powder. I'll tap off the excess and then heat up the powder using a heat tool. I start at the back, then move to the front until the powder is shiny and melted. For the day-inspired cards, I'm going to color in the flowers. I have here a plastic palette which I will use so that you can see the colors that I will apply on the flowers. I'll be using Zig Clean Color brush marker. Oof, that's a bit of a tongue twister. For the first flower, I'll be using lemon yellow and bright yellow. I'll be coloring on the back side of the vellum. I take the lightest color and color in the petals. Since I'm coloring in the back side, I'm not too concerned about going on top of the lines, as it will not show through the front. After coloring in the petals, I will take a slightly darker shade of yellow and starting from the base of each petal, flick it upwards, but only halfway through. I flipped the vellum paper over to check, and I noticed that it needed an even darker color to create more depth to the petal. So I'm going to use this orange color on the innermost part of the petal, just flicking it ever so lightly. Then I go back to the bright yellow and use it to blend out to make the transition a little less stark. Then I take the lightest yellow and continue to blend out the color. This technique will make sure that each color blends in with the other as smoothly as possible. I flip the panel over to check once more to see if it has more depth. And now that I'm happy with the results, I'll finish off the rest of the petals. I will apply the same coloring technique for the leaves. I'll be using a combination of light green and deep green. I start out with the lightest color first and color in all the leaves. Then the darker color, starting at the base of each leaf, moving upwards along the veins. Then I'll blend it out with a lighter color. For the second flower, I will be using three different shades of pink: light pink, fluorescent pink, and just regular pink. I start with a light pink color to color in the whole petal. Next, the fluorescent pink, flicking it from the base of the petal until about halfway. then the darker shade for the inner parts of the petals. Then I'll blend it all out with fluorescent pink. Then I'll do the rest of the petals off camera. For the cluster of flowers, I'll be using shades of blue and purple. For the blue flower, light blue and cobalt blue. For the purple flower, light violet and purple. Since the flowers are small, I'm using just two shades of each color. I always start with the lighter color first, and then the darker color on the inner parts, and then blend it out with the lighter color. I will color the rest of the flowers off camera and die cut them using the coordinating dies. I also colored the stems and the middles of the flowers using dark oatmeal. And for this one, I will keep it colorless for the night inspired card. Now for the night inspired card, I'll be using two panels of nautical cardstock measuring 4¼ by 5½. I will use the oval infinity nesting dies to cut out an oval frame on one of the panels. I place the oval die in the middle. I'm just eyeballing it here, then secure it at the top and at the bottom with washi tape. Then I will take it to the die cutting machine. Because this is a dark colored cardstock, sometimes the tiny pieces of paper residue from the cutting plate tends to stick to it. So I'll place a thin piece of paper in between before running it through the machine. Next, I will use the other panel of nautical cardstock to heat emboss the sentiment. I place the panel on the corner of the stamp positioner, take the sentiment "You Light Up My World" from the stamp set, and place it at the very bottom of the panel. I close the door to pick up the stamp. Apply anti-static powder, then embossing ink. Close the door and press down lightly. I will sprinkle it with white embossing powder and heat set it. Then I'll die cut it using the coordinating die. The frame that surrounds the flowers has a glow to it, and I create that by using unicorn white pigment ink and a finger dauber. I apply the ink on the inner parts of the frame with an outward motion. The white ink on dark cardstock is a technique to add some glow to your projects or even to stamped images. Next, I will take some acrylic paint. This one is from a monthly hero kit, but it's also available on the Hero Arts website. I place a small amount on a plastic palette, add a couple of spritzes of water, and with a fan brush, splatter it all over the framed panel. While I set that aside to dry, I'll work on the day-inspired card. Off camera, I adhere the die-cut panel on a 4¼ by 5½ side-folding note card. I chose the lovely spring floral cover die as the background for this card. I also die cut an oval using the same size oval die, which I will adhere on top of the die cut floral background. Next, I will position the flowers on top of the oval. One will be slightly higher than the other, making some room at the top for the sentiment. "I'm here for you," which I will white heat emboss on black cardstock and die cut it using the coordinating die. I make sure to add only little dabs of glue to the back of each flower, dabbing it with my fingers. This is to avoid it from showing through to the front. But since the flowers are colored in, it may not be so much of an issue. But if it's not colored in, it may show through. Then I added a small cluster of flowers to the middle and adhered the sentiment on the top right of the oval. And that finishes off the day inspired card. For the night inspired card, I will first adhere the panel, which I used for the sentiment, onto a side folding note card. Then I will adhere the framed panel on top. The arrangement of flowers is pretty much the same as the other card, but this time I'm a little more careful with the glue. Just little dots here and there, more at the bottom of the stem, which I will tuck into the frame. The sentiment is just placed above temporarily while I glue down the flowers. Then, when all the flowers are glued down, I will adhere the sentiment right above. And that finishes off card number 2, the night inspired card. I'll bring in the day inspired card and put them side by side. Let me know which one you like best. Have a wonderful crafty day. Till next time, bye!